Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tina and I'm the Capability Building Coordinator for Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. Connecting Up is a part of the Info Exchange Group. Info Exchange is a not-for-profit social enterprise that has delivered technology for social justice for over 25 years. With over 100 staff across Australia and New Zealand, we tackle the biggest social challenges through the smart and creative use of technology. I'd like to welcome you all to the webinar eLearning, LMS, SCORM, Tin Can, What Does It All Mean?, which will be presented by Nerida Nettlebeck from Platform One. We'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted, so if you have any technical issues, please type it into the questions box on your webinar panel, and I'll be able to assist you through there. If you have any questions during the session, please also type it into the questions box, and Nerida will answer them in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. Please note that your comments and questions will not appear to the entire group. If you are on a Wi-Fi connection and have multiple programs open, this can sometimes affect the quality of the audio and video of the webinar. If possible, please close all other programs to help you have the best experience. Please note that the webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording and the slides will be sent to you shortly after the webinar ends. Before we start, I'd also like to remind you that there will be a short survey at the end of the webinar. We'd appreciate it if you took a few minutes to provide us with some feedback. That's all from me for now. I'll pass it over to Nerida to get things started. Thanks, Nerida.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome. It's a real pleasure to be here to present to you today. I'd just like to start off by acknowledging the traditional owners of the country that we're all kind of meeting on, even though it's a virtual space, we're all sitting somewhere. And I pay my respects to the elders, past, present and future. So let's get started. And now my slides have stopped working. There you go. First of all, this is what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to go through some introductions, and then we're going to discuss all of the components of an e-learning system. We're going to look at some authoring tools. That's the tools that you use in order to create e-learning content. I'm going to briefly go over some course development methodologies and then look at, well, once you've developed your content, where does it get put and how do people access it to be able to go through the process of learning. And then some tips on if you want to set yourselves up with e-learning, some tips about how to choose where to go. So a little bit about me. That's a fairly recent photo, so I have aged a little bit since then, but not much. My background is I've spent quite a number of years in the not-for-profit sector, firstly in overseas aid and development, and then I did some work with disability employment services and overseeing an RTO. And I've had the privilege of working with a whole range of different people in different environments. And during my time, e-learning is something that's popped up because I've worked in remote locations. I'm currently sitting in Alice Springs, which is where I live, and have set up an online learning company from here, mainly in response to what I see as a inaccessibility of training for people living in remote communities, particularly Aboriginal people, but also just people who live in rural and remote areas. Whilst face-to-face training is awesome and you get to meet other people directly, it also is kind of expensive and time-consuming. And so e-learning is on the rise, as we know, around the world, in order to, sort of close that gap a little bit. So about 10 or 12 years ago, I had a program that was funded by Department of Social Services to train the financial capability workforce. And that was around 50 different people in 20 or 30 different organisations spread right around Australia, but mainly in remote locations. And we set up a program that included a whole lot of face-to-face training And eventually we kind of worked out that an e-learning strategy was needed in order to help meet the need of that particular cohort of workers. We started off just by doing coaching of individuals using Skype and Google Hangout or whatever was available, and then developed our strategy over time, over a number of months and years. And so during that time, I learned quite a lot about how to set up e-learning and also some of the pitfalls that I faced, and I'm hoping to share that with you today. Okay, yeah, so I'm a consultant with Matrix on Board, and we do a lot of work with non-profit organisations in the capacity building space. And Platform One Digital Services is my company that I work that I own with Evelyn Hutton, who's also here in the webinar today. And the two of us started up the company about 18 months ago in order to bring kind of a reasonably priced learning management system and platform to the not-for-profit sector. Now, having said that, I also am really just wanting to share the joys of e-learning and what it can bring to both the organisation, your clients, or your partners, or whoever it is that you need to train. So I'm going to jump into the different components of e-learning, an e-learning system or an e-learning platform. Up the top there, we've got the trainer, the person that's going to deliver the training. We've got the content on the left-hand side. That's what it is that you're actually training people. And you've got the platform where everything sits in the middle and reports on the side, which is what you get out of the system after the learners have gone through. And then the learners are down the bottom. And what I'm going to do today is just go through each one of those 5 components one at a time. So just talk a little bit about pros and cons of each one, or the things to look out for in each area. Before I do that in detail, I wanted to talk about some of the jargon and some of the terminology. There may be more terms that people know other than the ones that are here that they wanted to get answered today, and I think you could probably put them in the chat or in the questions area to make sure that they get covered by the end of the session today. So an LMS is a learning management system. We're going to go through that one in a little bit more detail, but it's basically the place that the content gets put onto so that the learner can go to that place and be able to do the learning. It really is the platform. They're called online learning systems. They're called learning portals. But it's basically the place where you put your training once it's been developed. A learning record store is often used by RTOs or training organisations as a place to be able to collect a whole lot of data about your students, who's done what training and whether or not they've passed that training, and whether or not you can issue a certificate. That's much more focused on people who need to demonstrate that they are issuing certificates in an accredited way, on an accredited system, so that people don't get certificates without having done the actual work. A SCORM is a shareable content object reference model, which doesn't really mean much, does it? But basically, a SCORM is a zip file, and it's got a whole lot of pieces of data that make up the interactive learning module. The best way to think about this, and the next one, the tin can, the best way to think about them, they're like little programs. The little programs have been developed in order to enable your training to be interactive, and then they've been put out onto the learning management system. have been packaged up and loaded up there, and then they're able to be used. Now, the difference between a SCORM and a tin can, it's really just the main difference is that the SCORM is they're both packages of data, but the tin can actually has a little bit more focus on being able to record the learner's experience and interface with your learning management system and your learning record store. It's newer. SCORMs are kind of the original protocols for developing e-learning content, and tin cans is the latest and most up-to-date version of that. And it really is just about the ability to send data from one one application to another application and capture information. I threw in virtual reality and augmented reality because they are two different things. Virtual reality is where you'd probably take videos of an entire area, or if you're doing a training program, if you're doing aged care training, for example, you might video an actual aged care hospital and then get the person to do training within that virtual environment. Augmented reality is usually a little bit like the person could be anywhere and have a phone or a tablet that points at something, and then that their reality of where they are is augmented by a piece of technology or a piece of information. So virtual reality normally happens when you sit in a chair and you put a headset on and you're taken somewhere else, whereas augmented reality is you're out in the world and your reality is augmented by the technology that you're using. And if there's any others, any other terminology or jargon that you know of in the e-learning space that you want me to answer today, put it in the questions box now, and I'll get to it at the end. So I'd like to just go through each one of these areas now. When I'm talking about content for e-learning, I'm talking about the content of any course, any training course that you've ever done has got content. It's the things that you're going to learn about. I'm going to give you a list now of the content, the types of content that you might use in an e-learning platform. Yeah, I'll just go through the list first, but these are all the ways or the pieces of data that you might use to teach someone. You have just normal reading materials, you have photos and videos, you can have interactive games and puzzles or sequences, and they're usually the ones that are put into the SCORM or the tin can. You can use just PowerPoints like we have today. You have PDFs, you can have links to websites, you can have sound files or podcasts or other people talking. You can sometimes record interviews and use them. It's an interesting way for a different way for a learner to get information. You can actually have learner created content, so you can get the learner to create some of the content, go away, do research, and then put the content back up. You can have instructor-led sessions, they're ILTs. That's probably another little bit of jargon. ILTs. And you can also get the learner to put up assignments, so you can do exams with the learner or you can do surveys. There's also animations and cartoons. You might have seen doodlies and people who've created these wonderful infographics, and all sorts of creative content can go up into a SCORM to create a learning, an e-learning course or module. In terms of the content, that's just what I went over before, but it really was just to show you that the SCORMs, APIs, tin cans, HTML5 and Flash they're all the same thing. They've been output into a different format. so that they can be used in different learning management systems. But each time you create a SCORM or a tin can, you're creating a module usually of a course that's going to be put onto the e-learning platform. Now, the trainer is an interesting component of e-learning platform. You might be asking yourself, isn't the trainer like redundant now? Because it's all automated. The person just goes on and interacts with the computer and there's no person involved. I would say that you still need to have someone in your organization who's going to deliver the content, and don't underestimate the need for human contact, even though it's all online. We still need to be able to talk to people, and we need to know that there really is someone on the other side of this, virtual world. A little bit like me sitting here talking to a computer screen, not really knowing if anyone else is out there. But it is important. The trainer, the person who delivers the training in the e-learning environment, provides authority. It gives a touch point for the learners, someone to talk to if something's going wrong. Gives them some comfort that there is an authority or a subject matter expert who knows what they're talking about. Someone who can take responsibility for the content, someone who can take responsibility for the learner's experience of the content as well. The trainer also needs to provide feedback to the learner when assignments are submitted, or they need to mark or grade the content if there's certificates being issued in an RTO kind of way, or if you want people to be able to demonstrate that they've passed something. So the trainer is still really a key component of the e-learning space. It's just that their work changes slightly. So it doesn't necessarily always make everything cheaper. And I guess if you're thinking from, a business perspective, you might have training that you want to deliver to other people, and it's your training. You might be the content expert. You might be the one you still need to think of yourself as a trainer. The next is the reports that you get out of the system. So in anything that we do, often we're provided, in the not-for-profit space, we're provided with a lot of funding to deliver training or outcomes or to do capacity building. And you need to be able to demonstrate that you've engaged with people, that people have learnt something, and that behaviours have changed or they've gained new knowledge. So your e-learning platform, most of them will produce some kind of report, and it's just important that you look at the reporting as you're selecting how you're going to do yours. You can just register people through SurveyMonkey and then get them to do a survey at the end. But I think having your learning management system have the ability to provide you with reports so that you know what someone's achieved is really important. Once you set up a course, you want to know how many people have gone through it, how many people left halfway through, how many people completed it, and you want to be able to also get feedback from your learners about the course itself so that you can continually improve it. Talk a little bit about that in a second. There also needs to be, reports on where each person is up to, as well as you need to make sure you can get reports on all of the learners in your system and all the courses in your system. So powerful reporting is really good in terms of being able to show funders and demonstrate what you've been able to achieve with your platform or your course. And of course, like anything, the learner, the person that's actually sitting there receiving the training or interacting with the training, they're going to want to be able to access the training. And nowadays, you wouldn't develop training that wasn't available on a mobile phone or an iPad or a computer or a desktop, a laptop or a desktop. You need to be able to provide when you develop your course, you need to be able to make sure that it meets all of those requirements. And also, you can't assume that everyone has really powerful internet. And so finding ways to develop training that meets the needs of people who are still very remote and still have really bad Wi-Fi or bad internet, which, let's face it, you can get that in the city. You can get bad internet connections anywhere. You can get it in the city or the country. I had an office in Carlton in Melbourne a few years back, and the internet was terrible. And then I moved to Alice Springs and I get fantastic internet connections. So you do need to take that into consideration, not have content that's too heavy on the internet. The e-learning platform is really just, it is, like I said before, the place that houses or hosts the training modules that you've developed. It should be easy to use and intuitive, and I'm going to go through a little bit more about that later on. And at the end of the session, I'll give you an opportunity to have a look at the our platform one, e-learning platform, so you can get to see inside it. But we'll do that at the very end. So e-learning platforms have got to be able to hold all of those different areas. So the trainer needs to be able to create the courses on the platform. It needs to be able to hold a whole range of different sorts of content. It needs to enable learners to interact with each other and be motivated to do the training. Gamification is a big thing that is being used to try and make e-learning engaging, not just for the sake of having fun and playing games, but so that learners are motivated to come in and that they really enjoy learning from your platform. And the platform also needs to provide the reports rather than going in and out of different things. Okay, so I've just given you an overview of the actual sort of system, an e-learning system. What we want to be able to do is work out how on earth am I going to create my training. And here on this screen, there's just a number of different options for how you can build training. And these are just software packages, and you need to search for them on the internet and purchase them. And I just need to say none of them are cheap, unfortunately. And they're a little bit like PowerPoint. If you're used to using PowerPoint to develop training, these ones are like PowerPoint on steroids. So the Articulate group of software, which is the first one up there, there's a number of different versions of it. Articulate 360, Articulate Storyline, and Articulate Rise they're all in the same family. And if you buy Articulate 360, you get everything. But Articulate 360 and Articulate Storyline are not different software packages. They're exactly the same software package. They're just slightly different versions. So the original one was Articulate Storyline, and the people at Articulate have started to move their software into an online environment. So at the moment, you need a PC to use Articulate Storyline and 360, and it's a piece of software that you buy and you download. In Australia, there's a company called Microway that actually sell you a license to Articulate 360. It's over $1,000 a year. You can't buy it as a one-off anymore. You have to subscribe to it. I think it's incredibly expensive, but it's incredibly powerful. So Articulate 360 has a whole lot of built-in characters, or the people that stand there in your SCORM talking to you. So cartoon characters. Not only cartoon characters, but they also have pictures of people who can act as the trainer or pretend to be the trainer. Avatars, I think they're called. Articulate 360 and Storyline are, just help you create training it enables you to have decision trees. So training that's just very linear, like the one that I'm going through today, it's just one slide after the next, is not very interesting kind of training. But when you have decisions to make, you have buttons to click and different things happen, that's when it becomes more interesting. Now, the competitor to Articulate 360 is Adobe Captivate, and that's a different kind of software again. Again, you have to buy it as a subscription, $48 a month, roughly. You can't get it any other way anymore. You used to be able to buy a version of it, and like, in the old days when you could buy a bit of software and it was yours forever and you'd put it on your computer and you could use it. That seems to have all disappeared now, and the only way we can get software is to subscribe to the use of it. Adobe Captivate is an Adobe product, and I think that they're all slightly more difficult than the average kind of product. You've got to do a little bit more training to get to learn how to use them. But again, this one is very similar to Articulate in that it's very similar to a PowerPoint, but it's got a whole lot more powerful things. You can see that little code of conduct training picture and GIF there. That's been developed in using Captivate. And if you're a learner, you would click on each one of those grey squares or yellow squares, and it would turn into the grey square, or it would run automatically. But that's just an example of the kinds of things that you can develop in Adobe Captivate. Elucidat is a piece of software that's available online, and there's the actual URL you can go to. I haven't seen that one, but this one's interesting because what it does is focus more on workplaces where you might have experts in your workplace, and you want to allow those experts in your workplace to teach other staff. And so you might purchase Elucidat for your organization so that you can have your own staff create your online content in order to teach each other. And that is kind of the way the future of training is going, particularly on the job training, when you have to teach people about a particular job that they're doing. There's also some companies out there that have developed online training, and you can buy their training off the shelf. There's an example of one, beonlinelearning.com. You can go there and have a look, and you can see that they have already developed a whole lot of SCORMs. You'd be able to buy the SCORM and then upload it onto your learning management system, your learning platform if you purchase one. And you might be able to even tweak it a little bit for your workplace. My experience with these authoring tools was I was one of the people that thought, I can learn anything. I'll just get in there and learn how to do this. And so I did with each one of these pieces of software. But now I know there's so much more can be done if I have an expert develop the content for me. So I always get someone whose job it is to just sit there and use Articulate Storyline to develop my e-learning content, because they're so much better at it than I will ever be. And they've got more time and they're more passionate about it. Once I learned it, I was like, okay, I know enough now to know what I don't know, and I can hand over to the experts. When you're developing a course, this is just a really quick kind of overview of what you would need to do. You need to start with your learning objectives and what it is that you want the learner to learn. And then, like all training content, you map out your interactions, you design the training. So we have instructional designers that will work with anyone's content and translate that into interactive designs of training. So you might have a training course already, you might already have the PowerPoints and the workbooks for your students, and you want to put all of that online. We have people whose job it is to sit there and look at all of that stuff and develop interactive content, map it out and say this is the best way to get this learning outcome, learning objective for the learner. And from the instructional design phase, number 2, it goes into number 3, where you get someone who just sits there and does nothing but use Articulate 360 or Adobe Captivate for a living, and you get them to develop your SCORMs. Then those SCORMs come out and you test with learners. We say learners, but we mean fake learners. So you can test the training yourself or get a couple of colleagues to jump on and test and give feedback. There's so many things that can go wrong with an e-learning course. It's not funny, or just little spelling mistakes and stuff. So the more people you get to test, the better. Then that feedback goes back to the developer and they improve the learning content, the SCORM, and then you put it onto the platform and you actually enroll your learners and evaluate it. And of course, after your learners have been through it, you've had your first cohort of learners go through, you will get feedback. You need to get feedback. Feedback's awesome. It helps you to make sure that you're going to get the best possible learning interaction from your content. You collect that feedback and you go back to the beginning and to the design phase and re-go through the whole process again. You do that in iterations. You might look at your training every 6 months or every 12 months to make sure that it stays up to date and that it's relevant and that it's meeting the needs of the learners, and also continually improving. What is hosting? Hosting is basically where your platform or your e-learning platform sits. The pictures on the right hand side there are 3 different sorts of e-learning platforms. The first one up the top there is a Moodle, and Moodle might be one of those e-learning phrases that you've heard before and you want to know more about. Moodle is it's basically just an open source e-learning platform that's been developed by students and people for free. So the programmers have developed it over a long period of time in order to allow people to put online training up and let users come in. Moodles are fantastic. They're fully functional, they're robust, they get improved all the time. And if you have really good IT people, they might be able to set you up a Moodle for not very much. Not very much, I mean really cheaply. If you've got really good IT people, they'd probably be able to deploy a Moodle for just the cost of their time. And the issue with a Moodle is that it's not that intuitive. It takes a long time to learn it, and so your trainers would just need to have a little bit of heavy training time. It's not a very intuitive system, and it's kind of limited in, well, they're all a bit limited in the way you can present information and courses to people. It's very difficult to use, so you just need to be a little bit more, you'd have to be an advanced user of computer systems to be able to administer a Moodle. So it's that one. The red one is also a Moodle, but that was developed by another company. Sorry. And then the way forward one down the bottom, that's the e-learning platform that Platform One has, and that's based on Learn-a-Pons. Learn-a-Pon is a company that we use to buy learning portals in bulk and sell them to the not-for-profit sector. You can go on Learn-a-Pons. Learn-a-Pons. I'm just going to write that in the chat. You can go on their website and have a look at their. Oh, I don't think I can write it to everyone, but anyway. So yeah, sorry, Tina.
I was going to say you can just send that through to me and I'll email it out to everyone afterwards.
Yeah, okay. I just put it up there for you so you can see it. Thank you. So hosting really is the place that it gets put. Different companies have different hosts. So the whole content, the platform, and everything that's in that is in a secure environment, say on Amazon servers or servers wherever. the web company is that hosts websites and all sorts of things. So there's nothing new or different about the hosting side of it. It really is just the program that sits up there, and then you can get to use it and put your training on it. So there's a little sheet of paper that you're going to get at the end of this, which it's got a little bit more information about each of these areas. But when you're choosing a learning management system, these were the things that we thought you needed to take into consideration. I can't stress enough, if it's not easy to use and not intuitive, you waste a hell of a lot of time, your time and your staff's time and everyone's time in trying to get to work out how to use it. It needs to integrate and talk to other programs. Like, nothing stands alone anymore. If you're looking at the world of software and the internet, everything is integrated. So you'd want to know what integrations you have. What are the options for motivating learners and engaging learners? Is there a forum where learners can talk to each other? Is there, can they collect badges and go up leaderboards and compete with each other to motivate people to get in there and get through the training that they have to get through? What's the support and the service regime like? Can you give someone a call and talk to someone? And is everything done through email? Will it be future-proof? Like, you can go through all of this effort and set up a whole learning management system and then find out that tomorrow it's redundant. I don't know how you future-proof anything, but it's just taking that into consideration. Is this something that's new and just been developed? Has it been around for a long time, or is it likely to continue? They're the sort of things there. Transparent pricing, is it easy to work out how much it's going to cost you, and what are the pitfalls? How is it going to cost you more? What are the things you need to take into account for pricing? What's the relationship with the person like who's delivering it for you? Are they easy to talk to? Are they easy to get hold of? That kind of thing. And timeframes, how quickly can it be deployed? You have to wait for the thing to be built. Is it going to depend on one person building it and then that person moving on, or can it be set up straight away? So that's it for my monologue. I would like to hand over to Tina now to let me know if there's any questions that Evelyn and I might be able to answer.
Great, thanks, Nerida. We haven't had any questions come through yet, so I thought maybe this would be a good opportunity for you to show everyone what Platform One is. And in the meantime, if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to put it into the questions box on your webinar panel. You'll need to type it in there for me to be able to see it.
Okay, well, I'm just going to switch over and hopefully you'll be able to see another screen.
Yep, we can see the screen.
Excellent. So this is Platform One's learning management system. And so this is the administrator's view, and it looks kind of complicated. It's not that easy to see. If you were a learner logging in, you would see something that looks like this, which is a lot kind of easier. You can see that there's 3 courses there. I've started this course. I haven't completed anything yet, but I have collected some badges because I've been into the training on several occasions. I'm just going to show you the navigation. So down the left-hand side, the dashboard gives you an overview of your learning management system. This is where you develop your courses. The beauty about Platform One is that you can develop a course with your own content. So you actually you can put SCORMs and those kind of things up here, but you can actually just create a course with your own content. So I'm just going to go in here and show you the content of this course. So when you can add a SCORM or a tin can, an instructor-led training session. You can add an assignment, an exam, and add a survey. But when you add a module, if we just go, I'm just going to test. It's that easy to add a module. And then you can add text and images. You can add documents. The types of documents you can add are PowerPoints. You can add Word documents, PDF, Excel spreadsheets. You can add anything there and it will go into it. You can add a video and you can add a sound file. And so you can just use the content that you've got to create a course that takes people through. So that would be the first module, the second module, the third module. Now, I haven't put anything in these. I'm just sort of giving you a rough overview. And then you can go here and you can preview this course. I just called it my first course. And there's a PowerPoint presentation on gamification that the learner could just go through and read. It's a very base level kind of training course. Just going to go back and show you the dashboard and my courses. I just want to show you these courses here have all been developed with SCORM, and so a SCORM normally comes up and looks like this. This is an example of a SCORM that's been developed. I'm not sure if you can hear the talking, but there's actually someone talking about the things here. And so the learners needs to click on that to find out about that particular affective empathy compared to cognitive empathy, and go through. So that's an example of a SCORM, basically, that's been developed. I'm just going to go back here. Enrollments is where you enroll users in courses. So over here is the courses, and then these are the users that we can enroll them in. So if you wanted to enroll users in that course, you would just do that and go enroll. The next time that user logs in, that course will become available for them. Just going to show you the settings of the overall portal. So the branding can change. So you can change the colors and the look and feel and put your own logo up into your portal. So once you get a portal, you can make it look and feel like your workplace. And the catalog is where you actually put your courses and decide how they're going to look. Resources are anything that you might want to put up into your portal that's available for all your users to be able to access. Users is where you actually get to see the individual people who are enrolled and have a look at what they've been up to. Change their settings, etc. Groups is where you have groups of users. So with this particular portal, you can have everyone come in through a single sign-on where they might be able to sign on to your corporate email system, and then automatically they would be able to just click a link and get into here without needing to sign on again. And then if you have particular cohorts of learners, then you can assign them to a group, and then that would automatically enroll them in a certain number of courses. There's quite a bit of automation that's available. Certificates is where you upload your certificates, and the certificates get automatically issued at the end of the course. So you just, this is to certify that this person completed this course on this date, and then that gets is available for them to download from their part of the portal. And reports. there's a whole range of different reports that you can generate based on the results of the learners in your learning portal. So Tina, that's kind of a very quick overview. If people want to have a more of a deep dive, they're welcome to contact me and I'll take them through a deeper dive into the demonstration of the portal.
Sure. Thanks for that, Nerida. We do have a few questions that have come through. So the first one is Platform One Moodle based?
Good question. No, it's not Moodle based. It's been developed by LearnUpon and they started from scratch. It kind of looks like Moodle, but I know that they haven't based it off Moodle. They started right from scratch and yeah, developed it brand new. I think they got really frustrated using Moodle and wanted to have something that was easier to use.
Okay, next question is, what do you think about using WordPress as an LMS using a suitable plugin?
Yeah, I think that's a good question too. I kind of feel like it's okay if you've say got one course and you're not doing a whole lot of training, but you require someone who knows how to do development for the website, and they've got to maintain the website, and so you're paying them to do that. Whereas your trainer can just use this. It's already set up. It's designed for training. It's not just a plug-in. It's much more powerful beast that allows you to do much more engaging training. But I've seen some good courses using WordPress. I think it just depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve and how much money you want to spend.
Okay, next question is, does Platform One allow for different levels of administration access so that different managers will only be able to see their staff instead of seeing everyone at once?
Yes, it does. I'm just going to show you the the user settings, and these are the different. So users are either learners, administrators, instructors, or managers, and it would be according to the course which who you'd be able to see. So a learner can't see other learners, um, and but the manager can. And you'd put your learners into groups and allow a manager to see certain groups of users. So the answer is yes.
Okay, that's all for questions today. Was there anything you wanted to add, Nerida, before we wrap up the session?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I hope it was helpful and people got to learn something.
Great. Thanks so much, Nerida, for presenting today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you've all learnt a lot from the presentation. If you have any questions that do come to mind later or any feedback about the webinar, please send that through to events@connectingup.org and we will answer those questions offline. Don't forget that the recording will be available on our website very shortly and a link will be sent to you, so keep an eye out on your inbox. Again, thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your day and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Thanks, Nerida.
Thank you.